Beloved, so happy you guys are here with us today. Listen, you're watching Power of the Voice. We're going to go in the book of Zechariah, the first chapter. Zechariah, the first chapter. And we're going to start at verse 13. We're going to go at 13, yeah. We're going to start at 12. Let's go to Zechariah 1 and 12. Listen, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, prayer line. Numbers on the screen. Also, go to the website, watch more videos. I promise it'll bless your life. Everything is absolutely free, no charge. Freely we give, we've been given. Freely we receive, freely we give. We're going into Zechariah 1, verse 12. And the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem, and not on the cities of Judah, against which thou have had indignation these 70 years? And the Lord answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I'm very sore displeased with the heathens that are at ease. For I was a bit displeased, and they helped further forward my affliction. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I will return to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts. And a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Dear Father, we thank you for your word today. Feed us. Feed us your word. Amen. We're in Zechariah 1, verse 12, giving you context of what we're reading. Zechariah is having these dreams, these visions. You have to go back in the book and in the chapter and read it on your time. Very interesting dialogue. You may want to take just a week just to study those two chapters, because there's a lot of things that just needs to be unfolded and unpacked. Conversation with the angels, the whole conversation with horses, conversations with the nation, conversation. You hear God speaking, you hear the angels talking, you hear Zechariah talking. There's a lot of dialect that's going on in just those two chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book of Zechariah is amazing. 3, the whole book is good. 1 and 2 is all we're going to be able to kind of touch on today. I'm trying to get as much of it as we possibly can in. But the context of the story now is that Jerusalem was pushed out of the original city. The believers were pushed out of Jerusalem. It was pushed out of Jerusalem because, you have to go back to the book of Jeremiah to get a little bit more insight of what was going on as far as the particulars. But the ways of the people wasn't so great, and it was prophesied that they were going to leave the city of Jerusalem. They had to leave out of the city of Jerusalem because they was getting comfortable in their evil ways. And the thing about being comfortable in their easy ways, it can become deceptive. You can think that because everything is cool and everything is comfortable and everything is working out, that what you're doing is okay. But sometimes God wanted to displace them out of that place, so they're not confused about what's God and what's not God, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. habits sometimes are not broken until you remove yourself out of a certain environment. Habits are not broken until you remove yourself from certain environments. As long as you are in that environment, you can become a creature of habit. And so God just wants to remove them out of this place. He doesn't want to destroy the people. He doesn't want to kill the people. He just wants to put them in another place, up under another ruler, because they didn't appreciate the space that he had them in for that season. Jerusalem was there for them to be inhabited. It was prophesied years that the lineage of David would be straight and Judah would be straight, and God made a covenant with the fathers even before their time that their children would be straight. And so now they have spent 70 years in a different place, kind of splitting between the two generations, those who've seen the exile or seen leaving Jerusalem, and now there are children that was born in this new era, this new place, this new disposition. It's kind of prophetic in the sense of even our day today. We kind of have an old school generation and a new school generation, and there's the changing of the guards and the changing of the days and the times, and there's one way of how things were done, and then there's a new way of how things were done. And God still has favor on that selected group of people. And so now what God is doing, in the conversation that you just heard, we hear the angel talking to God, and you have to read a couple of verses before that and some verses after that to kind of fill in the meat, because Zechariah has his vision and he sees this angel riding on a horse, and this man riding on a horse, and the angel sitting there talking to Zechariah. He's asking him, who is this angel, who is this man, and who is these horses? And the angel that's talking with him begins to explain who the man is, but the men begin to talk, and they say, hey, these horses are who the Lord has sent to go to throughout the earth, just to check the temperature of the earth, to really just see what's going on in the earth. And the horses was like, everything is at ease, there's no uproar, there's no change, everything is at ease. And the angel cries out to God, saying, asking God, how long will it be until he bring the people out of this place into a new place? And God speaks back to the angel some good words, some comforting words. And then once he begins to speak to the angel tells Zechariah to prophesy. So it's a lot of dynamics that are going on in the text. You have Zechariah talking, you have angels talking, you have God talking, you have horses talking, and the conversation is all about when is it going to bring the people back into the place of promise. And God is going to bring them back to Jerusalem because they have been exiled for 70 years, and they're going to know when things are going to be back in order. It's interesting that the angel was talking to God. It helps us to understand that there are angelic hosts that are assigned to our life, or assigned to seasons, or assigned to demographics, or assigned to regions, and they've been given a mandate to execute, or to judge, or to move, or to watch. Not all of it is to watch over, but they have been given an assignment to do. You'll see that over with the city a lot. You'll see the angel coming with Balaam. So you will see kind of the angel movements because they've been given instructions to carry out a certain thing. There also that was the horses that was talking, saying that everything was at ease. There was no problems, meaning that Jerusalem was still in bondage, and the people that had them in bondage was in control. There was no out of pocket. There was nothing that was chaos that would make them seem like they don't have the upper hand. And so now the angels starts to talk to God concerning these people. And when God says to the angel words of comfort and good things, the angel now tells Zechariah what to prophesy. So now Zechariah is now prophesying how the Lord is going to return, how the Lord is going to build the city, how the Lord is upset with the heathens. And so he's now prophesying in this dream or in this vision, just concerning the mind of God, the things of God. You have to go back and read the text on your time. But Zechariah is able to see this vision. His eyes are open to revelation that he would not have had access to had he not been given the dream or the vision. Things was changing, but things had not changed. The glory still hadn't came back into the city of Jerusalem, and the people had not yet to return all the way to Jerusalem to be able to establish rulership in that place. What's going on? What are we seeing? What's the purpose of today's Power of the Voice? It's interesting that you hear a lot of voices, and it's interesting that you hear a lot of conversation. And a lot of the times we're looking for things to change in our life. We're looking for things to move in our life. But some things are on the timing of God. However, things are in moving around concerning that time. Angels that have been sent on your behalf, those who have been sent to watch the temperature of going on, and the prophet who's prophesying what is coming to pass. And so those elements and those keys sometimes are the ingredients. It's the ingredients that we need in order to go into a place where God has promised us to be. And so if you're not in the place, if there's some things in your things that God has promised. See, because God had promised that He was going to do that for them. There is a difference between us looking for God to fulfill a prayer and God fulfilling a promise. A prayer I can pray, Lord, bless me with a house. Lord, bless me with a car. And I have to be mature enough to understand that God can bless me with those things upon my request. But I may have to fix my credit score. I may have to get up and go to a job and go to work every day. I may have to cut back some spending. It may require me, because of the request that I have before the Lord, some effort on my part, because there is a request. But that is completely different than a promise from God. God promises says, hey, I'm going to give you the house. I'm going to give you the car. And what God has started doing is putting certain things in order. He'll start rearranging certain things and opening doors here and moving, shifting things around to place you in that place of promise. So sometimes we look at prophecies. Somebody prophesied and it didn't come to pass. And then there's prophecies that the Lord will prophesy. Zechariah began to prophesy that the Lord is about to do some things concerning bringing the city back. When there are prophetic words that are from God, that are written as a decree, there's nothing that can change that. We can't even change that. The thing may happen where God makes a decree and says, hey, I'm going to promise to bring the people back into a place or bring the people back into a city. The timing of God is different. Even if it may not happen in your generation, it will happen in the next generation. So God makes promises that come to pass. He doesn't have to do any of these things. So Him saying something just for the sake of trying to make people feel good is not the point. When God decides to do something, it has a purpose in it. And so the people are instructed. The people are instructed to believe, but the angel has been instructed. The prophet has been instructed, and now God is begin to start putting certain things in place and in order to bring what He has promised to pass. And it's not going to look like it at first. Things are still going to look at ease. When the angel was talking and the horses was talking, they were saying that things still look the same. They had been sent by God to just look around and see what's really going on in the city. And that could be what's going on in your situation. We have visitations all the time. Zachariah is just now having the opportunity to see what's happening in the spirit world, what's happening in that realm. And so things were looked at ease. It didn't look like things was changing concerning their situation. They still was in Babylon. Babylon has been taken over by a new king, and that new king has only been in position for about 2 years. And 2 years within his reign, God is starting to orchestrate things back into the perspective place in which he had already purposed to do from the beginning of the exile. So they went through a season because they missed God. God took them out of that place, but now he's returning his goodness and his grace back to his people. And the key word in the whole text is his people. And so if you are of the beloved, God is going to bring you back. If you have allowed yourself to follow the Christ, God is going to bring you back. Yes, he loves us all. Yes, he cares for us all. But there are those who have decided to believe in him, that he gives special instructions for times and for seasons. So, beloved, your time and your seasons is being directed by God. Doesn't matter if you missed the mark last season. Didn't matter if you missed the mark in the current season. God is going to handle those things, handle you, and then bring things back into perspective. So be patient on the Lord. Be in a place to hear from the Lord. Zechariah was in a place to hear. He was pushed into a place to receive instructions. So the instructions is coming. I pray to you today that God will release instructions into your life. That God will begin to just motivate your heart to believe again. That God will strengthen your heart to trust again. A lot of times our relationships in life become so out of whack that it kind of governs even our relationship with God, that we don't even have, the enemy fights our earthly relationships, whether it be with a parent, a friend, a loved one, to distract us of the definition of what relationships are. And so at first it's all pure, like a mother and loving her daughter, a son loving his father, it's a pure form. And then things throughout time begin to try to shape those ideologies concerning what a relationship is. But God doesn't handle us in the same way that our friends and our family handle us. And so we have to be careful not to handle God in the same way that we handle the relationships that we handle with one another. And we have to be wise enough to understand that in order to be able to understand this God, there has to be a study of the Word, and there has to be a prayer life. There has to be a conversation. Those things are inevitable because he put the mysteries and he puts the secrets in his Word. He put the mysteries and the secret in his words for us to be able to access those things. Zechariah was able to get access into a place because God began to put it into his words. The angel begins to speak, the conversation with God and the angel, and he was able to give the message back to Zechariah, to give the message to the people. So the mysteries of God is the goodness of God to hide a thing. It's the glory of the kings to search those things out. So seek the Lord. Seek the Lord for answers. Seek the Lord for direction. Seek the Lord for instructions concerning destinations, the periods and times and movement. Everything else will be added. The houses and the cars and the friends and the money and all of those things which are good. Nobody's, telling you not to have a desire to have nice things. But the basis of your relationship with your Father can't be about things. It can't be about stuff. It can't be about him being your personal Santa or your personal genie and handling all of your personal needs and slapping all your enemies around. He's your personal bellhop or your personal security. He's really there for a relationship with him. And the relationship with him is more than just trusting him for stuff, but it's trusting him in places and in seasons that you're in. Had they bucked around and tried to fight, there are some that fought going into leaving the city and going into exile. And you read that in Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah. So some that prophesied against them going out and going into Babylon. They wanted to stay in Jerusalem because they felt that's what they wanted. But that's not what God wanted. So, beloved, make sure that you're studying this scripture, studying these words, spending your time with the Father just to be in his presence, not even necessarily trying to get anything out of anything, but just being a willing vessel in a space that he can just have a conversation. Sometimes the Lord wants to just minister to us, and sometimes he wants us to just minister to him and just talk and commune with him and find an appreciation and a love for him, and the purity of relationships, not a give and take, but just you being able to just give to the Father. And I want to encourage you today. I want to encourage your life to be a life where you're giving back. I want to kind of change. We talked a little bit earlier about how the text is kind of similar to our generation, where there's the old school and there's the new school. And I want to try to, if I can, implement you to being a person who is just chasing after God, just trying to find him and where he is and what he's doing and what he's up to and what's on his mind and what's on his heart and what he needs and what he looks for and what he longs for and what he desires. You turn it around from him being your own personal bodyguard and genie and shepherd and Santa Claus to you now turning around and you becoming the servant, you becoming the one that's chasing after him. Beloved, your life will change forever, because no matter what situation that you come, good or bad, you'll have a presence of the Prince of Peace here with you. And that's what we need. We need the peace, we need the joy, but just pursue after him. If you don't know him, if you never heard of this Jesus Christ, you never heard of God, the Son of God, I want to introduce you to this man. The entryway is through his Son, who is the Christ, who's given his life so that we may have a life. And so if you don't know him, I want to introduce you to him and say this prayer with me, because he's longing. He's already pushing you to come here. You've seen this video, or you watched this broadcast, and you have never heard of him. He's already put certain things in perspective just for you to hear this conversation today. So I want to pray with you. Just say, dear Jesus, I want to know who you are. Come into my life. Come into this room. Come into this space. And come into my heart. Show me who you are, that I may follow after you. And God will do the rest. Beloved, if you are my brother and my sister, I want to pray with you too, so that God will comfort you and that you would command yourself, command your heart to follow after him. Dear Father, I pray for my brother and my sister watching this video. I pray that they begin to have a hunger and a thirst for you like never before. Like they sleep thinking about you, they work thinking about you. Their movement is thinking about you, even when picking spouses and when picking friends and when picking jobs. Their conversation with you is, Father, where are you? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let them follow for you. Also, God, bring them back into Jerusalem. Bring them back into the place where you have already purposed and designed for them to be. And doing that, we glorify your name forever. Listen, my brother and my sisters, my newly brothers and sisters as well, find your faith Bible believing church and get busy. If you want to get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the number's on the screen. If you, my brother or my sister, want to join the prayer team, call the number, leave a message. we will be able to get in touch with you so that you can be able to come and join the team. Listen, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Wish I could spend more time with you, but hey, there's other things that we have to do. So, but until next time, you'll watch a Power of the Voice.